Sean Boswell has to crash 3 cars before he learns how to drift. This is Spoilers.
This is Spoiler. My life be like, yeah. My life be like.
Sean.
That was his name?
Sean.
That's the thing about this movie. He doesn't have his name said by anyone until like halfway through. I was pretty confused what his name was.
Who the fuck is Sean?
He looked like a Terry to me.
He looked like a Slim Shady.
Hello and welcome to Spoilers. We're going to talk about a movie, good or bad, and play a little trivia at the end. Let's go around and introduce ourselves. West to East. And Pappy, why don't you let the people know what you're watching and if you have a favorite race car game?
Yeah, this is Pappy, recording from Denver, Colorado. And I think I've talked about this before, but Kill Tony has got its hooks in me. It's my favorite YouTube show. It's like my favorite show ever. I love how cringy it is. I watch every week. But favorite racing game? That's tough. There's been a lot of good ones. I'll go back to the Super Nintendo version of Mario Kart. That was one I rented many, many times as a child, and then bought as a man child to relive that fantasy. So I gotta go with the old school one.
Nice. Josh?
This is Josh from Goshen, Indiana. Favorite racing games gotta be the 64 and Super Nintendo and GameCube version of Mario Kart. But I want to give Hydro Thunder a shout out. I don't know if you guys remember that racing game for Dreamcast with like the boats and stuff.
Are we doing our top 7 racing games or favorite? What is this?
Mashed potatoes, corn, turkey,
Gravy.
rolls,
Yeah, what's the roll?
gravy.
Gravy's a condiment.
Speaking of Brett, I gotta just add here. We're starting like an hour and a half later than usual, and Brett's been like trying to get inside the computer for a while. It's been pretty crazy, but glad to be here.
The man's locked out of his own computer, and Skype hates him. Stevie, what do you got going on?
Man, I am all in on The Wire right now. I just got through the first season in about 2 days. And for those who have seen it, Omar is my boy. And let's see here. Favorite racing game of all time is going to be a throwback. But I'm not going to say Mario Kart or anything, 'cause that's just kind of hacky at this point. Everyone else has said it. There's a game called Midnight Club Racing 2. That was for the PS2. That was my shit.
That's
like,
basically
that game
Tokyo
was
Drift.
Untouchable. Like, it was pretty much Tokyo Drift. I love that game. That is a special place in my heart.
Yeah, that game was fun. Jordan?
Hey, this is Jordan from North Carolina. What were the questions? My favorite racing game is probably Mario Kart Double Dash for GameCube, which is pretty lame, but it's a lot of fun.
Love the cube.
The cube. Was there another question in there? Sorry, Mikey.
If you were just watching anything recently. Any TV or movies or anything?
Nothing great. Yeah, nothing really new.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel.
I mean, we reviewed Captain Marvel, but I assume that pod will be released like 3 weeks ago at this point.
So,
But did you like it? I didn't hear it.
Yeah, it was good.
you should listen to the podcast, Josh. It's
I'll save it for the pod.
Save it for that pod.
The pod's over.
I'm Mikey. I'm recording.
Listen to the pod.
I'm Mikey. I'm recording out of Goshen, and besides like Brooklyn Nine-Nine, I can't really think of anything else that I'm watching. But my favorite racing game is probably, Pap knows about this game, Burnout. We used to have this at our apartment.
Yeah.
It's a pretty fun racing game. Pretty much just crash, a lot like this movie, doing a lot of just taking other people out. So it's a pretty fun game. I liked it a lot. But Tokyo Drift.
I know Brett's favorite racing game was that Crash Bandicoot. Just so.
CTR?
Kart racing.
Yeah, I just wanted to toss him in
Crash
there.
Team
just so you guys
Racing?
know. Yeah, he loves it.
That was a lot of fun.
That's coming back out. They're re-releasing that, so maybe you'll buy that. But we're talking about Tokyo Drift here, and it starts out with an opening of our protagonist here. He's still nameless. We don't know his name, but he's a
The
30,
drifter.
Yeah, he's a 30-year-old man who's going to high school.
Rabbit.
And I don't know I don't know if we have any context of where he's going to high school, but he's got to go through a metal detector, and he's...
Anyone else think he was going undercover because he looks so old and dressed like a narc?
Yeah, he's not convincing anyone that he's young.
He's way less convincing than like Jonah Hill.
Well, and wasn't the whole point of recasting Paul Walker was for a quote younger actor? Like,
I don't think this is recasting him.
well, it was like a soft reboot of the series, right? Like,
Yeah, and I think Paul Walker could have pulled off High School better than Lucas did. Or
Paul Walker...
Does he not look like Marshall Mathers, Slim Shady, Eminem?
This is
Superman?
This is the third movie in the series, though. Like they're not trying to reboot anything.
no, I think that they were. I think
no,
at the
it was a
time-
soft reboot.
Yeah, they
Really?
the Vin Diesel thing wasn't, spoiler alert, wasn't planned until much later in the production process.
Until they realized we can't soft reboot
We
this.
need some family.
They got halfway through production of this movie and realized this guy has no charisma at all, and like, oh god, we gotta go back to
No,
Paul
they
Walker.
did. They finished the movie and they put it to test screening audiences, and they were like, "This movie sucks," and so they literally reshot that ending way after production.
I can believe that. But he's going through this metal detector at school. I guess he goes to a bad school or like not a great school, but he's in shop class and he's watching a kid get bullied by getting his belly spray painted, and he kind of just walks away.
Yeah.
What's the point of that?
Is it to show that he's just a bad person? He's not going to...
Classic high school hijinks.
He's just not going to stick up for this kid, or I guess? Or it's
I mean,
also not his problem.
If we're going to play the what's the point game, what's the point of having a Native American effigy being beat in by the football team? That's kind of fucked up.
Agree.
Like, there's other ways to show these are the bad guys without going there, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's a little... Again, we're race wars. You'll hear about it.
Good point.
Furious movie.
All right.
But Pap, we're walking into this first conflict here with our protagonist, and he's kind of walking to his car after school. And who does he run into here?
Hey, you talking to my girl?
Oh shit, here we go. She was just a my ride.
My grandma's Buick could smoke that piece of shit trailer trash.
What about your daddy's Viper?
This beast's got 500 horsepower and a Borley exhaust system. It does 0 to 60 in like 4.3 seconds.
That's about right. That's about right. Wow. You can read the brochure.
So I never watched the Tool Time show. Who is this?
You
this
never
guy?
watch Home Improvement?
This is Brad Taylor.
I missed
did
that. Yeah. But it's what's his name from the show? That's what he's most known for.
Brad?
Brad
Taylor.
is the jock. He is the one who is pounding on the Native American piñata in the stands just for fun on a Tuesday afternoon. But there's a conflict with Brad and his girl and our new nameless protagonist, and she seems to be kind of playing both sides of that romantic rivalry, right?
She's a fast girl for sure.
Yeah, she's kind of poking fun at his car, and he says something like, "It's not the ride, it's the rider." And she kind of sets up this whole race between
Oh boy.
Brad Taylor, Tool Time Kid, and our nameless protagonist. And so,
Well, you guys, she like says that the winner of the race gets her straight up. Like she just wants. She's like horny for whoever wins this race, literally.
Josh, are you going to have a problem with the Fast and the Furious franchise objectifying women now after that whole movie we just did last week? Like, this is
This
par for
is
the
far
course.
worse. This is far worse. This movie is. I don't really have like. I'm not coming here to like really rip on the movie. I thought that was like objectification so obvious to the point that it's funny.
I mean,
Am I the only one who liked his car? Why was she making fun of that car? I thought it was a pretty cool car.
it just wasn't painted.
It was an awesome Monte Carlo,
Yeah, it was a
man.
cool
That was
car.
a cool, real cool car.
But
Have that in high school at 17 when you look 45. I mean, I would kill for that.
so yeah, they head off to an abandoned. It's not abandoned. It's a neighborhood under construction. It's like a new neighborhood. And Josh, can you tell us what kind of happens during this race and the different cars involved and kind of the hijinks our protagonist gets up to.
Well, have you guys ever played the old school Paperboy for NES?
A long time ago.
If you get to like the bonus level, you like go through this construction yard and you're like dodging on all these like dirt ramps and stuff. It's kind of like that. And at one point, Eminem in his car goes straight through one of the houses, like on purpose, like goes through like their hallway. It just like blasts through. This is like one of the parts that I thought was weaker about this movie than Fast and the Furious is that the races were like a lot more complicated. It wasn't like that 0 to 10 thing. So it's kind of confusing to know how long and who is like winning. And I don't know.
Yeah. Agree.
I thought it was actually a really cool part of the movie because, I mean, in the first, the Fast and the Furious, it's kind of like they blur everything to, no end. It's like real special effects. And I thought the camera work in this race was actually really well done. It was shot in a pretty cool way. Like they weren't blurring everything going, 180 miles an hour.
I like the blur effect in the first one.
I respected that.
But I agree. This movie probably, the cinematography is definitely one of its strengths, I would say.
Yeah, they definitely open it up a bit more and you can like actually see the cars racing. So they're racing around this like dirt road in this construction
Also,
site.
can I interject, Mikey?
Yeah.
So this is like on a brand new job site where you're seeing like wood stacked up and houses barely being framed. Those tires on that job site wouldn't have lasted a minute. Nails, screws, those tires would have been shot in 20 seconds. No way that race would have happened. No crash, no nothing. It just would have ended.
Let alone how it does end. They run into a cinder block at 125 miles an hour and walk the fuck away.
Head on.
It's like the movie Death Proof.
Yeah, so they're racing and they're just destroying everything. This guy, Brad, has smashed into pallets of wood, just driven through houses, little houses, and the kid from Home Improvement is driving this really nice car. It's like worth like $80,000, he says, and he's just rubbing tires with this old Monte Carlo and just ripping it to shreds. So he's got no respect for his car.
How they always get to like a breaking point where they look over at the other person and they're just like, screw this, and like ram into him for the first time.
Yeah.
It's time to risk the lives of all three of us.
His girlfriend is kind of like egging him on and then eventually tells him to slow down because the race is getting way too out of hand. And Brad Taylor is eventually going to get cucked by losing this race. And then
a lot of cucking in this franchise.
And then the protagonist, Sean, who still has not been named, rolls his car after he wins, and they end up in the police station. And during this whole scene, we get a pretty sweet, way too long musical clip of Kid Rock's "Ba with da ba da bang diggy diggy," which goes on for like way too long and it's blaring. Yeah, it's going on forever.
I always thought that was Fred Durst, huh?
Is it?
Every day.
It's terrible either way. So after that, Jordan, he's got a little powwow with the police chief. And what does the police chief tell him?
Honestly, I don't really remember what the police chief tells him.
It's not important. He just tells him to move to Japan with his...
You gotta get out.
Well, no, I mean...
Let me bang your mom first, then you can go to Japan.
I mean, he's talking to the cops, and his mom comes in, and then we cut to... Sean, because apparently that's his name. Sean is in the hallway, and his mom and the policeman walks out. The mom like wipes her lips, like I don't know what's on there. I think his mom might have sucked off the cops.
I want to say this whole like I just watched Rebel Without a Cause like 2 weeks ago because I had never seen a James Dean movie, And the intro of that is James Dean keeps fucking up from town to town. His family has to keep moving, and they end up in a police station where they're like, this is their last stop. So like, it feels like the same thing up until we go Forrest Gump with the mom sucking off someone for a sexual
Happy,
date.
you're going to have a problem with Fast and the Furious franchise copying other movies now after the first one copied Point Break so hard.
I hate these movies. I've given every Fast and the Furious movie a no, and I'm never going to give one a yes by the looks
So you're
of it.
mad about me possibly flipping here or what?
Yes, you're a flip-flopper.
It's a different movie.
We'll get to it.
In Pappy's defense, Josh did call the first movie creative. So we'll
That
go
is
from there.
Beyond me.
That's a
Is that an
compliment.
actual quote? I'm going to have to listen
you,
back to the
you
tape.
called it artistically creative. I haven't gotten over it. Anyway.
So he's forced to move to Japan with his dad, who's in the Navy. And then
And he's so pissed about it. Oh, I have to go live in one of the best countries in the whole wide world. It's an international experience.
I really wanted to go to
What the fuck are you
Jupiter.
talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what he's so upset about, but he gets the chance to expand his mind and broaden his horizons by moving to Japan, and he totally resents it, and he ends up going to military school, I think. Is it? I don't even know. It's just a Japanese high school, but he has to wear a uniform, and he ends up meeting Bow Wow. And Pap, what is Bow Wow's specialty at this high school?
So the film chooses to use the one black character as the hustler of this high school who can get you whatever you want. You want a laptop, you want a cell phone, you want some Jordans. Of course, the black guy has got this. I actually think Bow Wow does a good job of acting. I think his character is kind of not bad, but like the choice to use the character in that way was pretty gross to me. I don't know what anybody else
He
thought.
doesn't even
He
drive
was
a
selling
car.
Flavor Flav clocks.
And it's the only black character in the movie. Let's repeat that.
And he gets beat up.
How awesome was his Hulk van, though?
Pretty cool.
I love that van. If I could drive that around, I would.
Stevie described that is it a van? Or is it I don't even know what kind of car that was.
It's like a hybrid of like what a RAV and a minivan making love would be. But there's like this really weird scene, and you have to remember these kids are in high school, where he's like flipping through cars on a carousel. And you see, like, I think there's like a Ferrari, a Lambo, I think there's a Maserati in there. And like the whole time, Sean thinks like every car is his until you get to a green minivan with like Hulk smash fist coming outside of every door. And there's like purple shag on the interior. And it has like the Hulk's like face on the hood. It looks really cool to me. I would drive it.
I think this is a good time to bring up the subject of why do people so openly give Sean, Eminem, Slim Shady their keys to their car? Like he drives for his mom, Han, this Bow Wow. Like the first time they meet, he's like, "I get to drive," and he just tosses him the keys. Like I don't understand.
Yeah.
Is it because it's part of the mythology of this dude? Like Sean's got to drive.
He was born to do it.
He was born to wreck multiple cars.
He doesn't wreck the Hulkmobile though.
No,
He just
thank
drives
God
around.
it survived.
Yeah, Bow Wow keeps that.
And while we're also at this high school, we meet the hot girl. I think her name is Neela. She comes into play a little bit later because she's got a boyfriend who's in the Yakuza, and obviously we race for the rights to this young woman later
Jesus
on in the movie.
Christ.
So we skip ahead a little bit and we get to the first race versus Donkey Kong DK, the Drift King. And Josh, what do you got to say about DK and what kind of operation does he run in Japan?
Well, as you hear that aquatic theme from DK and its uncompressed glory playing in the background,
DK-san.
I think you're wrong when you said he's in the Yakuza because I think only his uncle is.
He has
but
ties to the Yakuza.
Yeah, he's a wannabe Yakuza
Yeah.
guy. He's trying to get his
Yeah.
way in there.
and DK means he's the Drift King, and it kind of proves it in
Wait,
the
is
scene.
that what it stands
Yeah,
for?
Drift King, Takashi.
Oh,
They said
Okay,
that.
okay.
They
Yeah.
say that.
and I think this is the inciting incident here of the film because they get into a race, and I don't know how deep you want to go into the race. Can I just spoil it right away, Mikey?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, like the current DK, so we'll just call him Donkey Kong. He
God.
like does this awesome thing actually on a ramp, and I don't know how they did that in real life, but he like the car is sideways but going up this like parking lot ramp, and he wins. And
An actual
Sean-
driver did that, Josh.
that's pretty
Yeah.
crazy. And Sean comes
Yeah.
up like limping, hitting every wall, and just like the car is completely dead.
After
Almost
he
like so
borrowed
many
a car.
cars on that way up. Yeah.
It's like he had never driven a car.
Yeah, he borrows a car from also another Yakuza wannabe friend who we learn is Han, who's going to be kind of important later on. But he totally trashes this car and trashes multiple cars on his way up this parking lot building. And Jordan, what does Han say to Sean at the end of the race? What kind of like an ultimatum he gives Sean at the end for trashing his car?
I mean, he basically like tells him like, "You're my bitch now. Like, you're gonna work for me."
Yeah, pretty much.
Don't leave
Yeah,
town.
and they go on like, yeah, oh yeah, don't leave town, and they go on a series of like, he's collecting money for him. He's like kind of being his like lackey for a little while.
Yeah, he's like his muscle guy. He's kind of forced to get money that is owed to Han by like some huge guy at a bathhouse. He's not very good
Like,
at
an
it.
actual sumo wrestler.
Yeah, he gets his ass kicked by a sumo wrestler to go get this money.
But he gets the money.
Yeah.
Can I go back to one thing from the parking garage scene?
Yeah.
There's like this bit that it feels like it wasn't quite executed as well as it was written, but like all of these high school girls try to get on the elevator with one of the guys, and he shuts them off. And then on the next elevator, all of those high school girls get in, plus Bow Wow gets in. And then he looks right at the camera and winks and breaks the fourth wall, which is like,
Yeah.
I actually kind of love that, to be honest. Like, it's weird, but it kind of works.
I forgot about that. That was I thought it was kind of cheesy, but also there's another thing with the elevators when they come out of the elevators for the first time. I thought it was kind of a cool shot where Bow Wow is like explaining what drifting is, and Sean knows nothing about drifting culture. So as soon as they open up the doors to this garage, there's like two cars racing and they drift past. I thought that was like a kind of a cool shot for how awful the rest of this movie is. But
What's drifting?
Also, I didn't know they were doing pop-up DJs back in 2006. Like, did you catch that? Like a DJ just in the middle of the garage playing for all these people working on their cars. And I imagine are underage Japanese girls.
Dude, this is Japan. They have streaming video to their Motorola flip phones in 2006, apparently.
yeah.
Pop-up DJs!
Things just work.
It seemed like the equivalent of the American Party that they showed earlier in the movie, though. Kind of everyone hanging out by cars, girls in short skirts.
Yeah, except everyone was
Touching
one
engines.
race this time.
Oof.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's what it is. Just saying.
So after that first race, we get a little kind of more story building with Sean and Han. Han is going to teach Sean how to learn how to drift because he needs a racer. I don't know why he needs a racer, but he needs Sean to race for him to earn him back some money so he can fix his car. And Han finds out that Sean is easily the worst driver ever by smashing into basically everything he ever sees on the roads. And Stevie, as Han is like teaching Sean how to do all this stuff, driving the cars, drifting, and all that kind of stuff, we get our first appearance of Nos, and they just blow past some cop cars. Why do the cop cars not chase after any of the faster cars in Japan?
Because the cop cars can't catch them. Like, they're only like factory built. They're not like built to go extra fast. And so if they break a certain amount of, I imagine, I don't know, do they use like kilometers per hour over there, Pap?
I believe so, yeah.
That whole system freaks me out. But I imagine if you go over a certain speed, they're just like, screw it. Why even try?
Yeah, so cops are like really not even a factor in this movie, which was like a big deal in the first. A
breath of fresh air.
Yeah, so you don't got to worry about cops in Japan because they're just too slow. They can't keep up. So we get more of Sean in high school, and he's kind of just being the awkward loner white guy in this all Japanese school. And he makes some friends. He's friends with Bow Wow. I don't think Han is in high school, but he goes to lots of parties with Han and kind of hangs out and stuff. And Josh, can you kind of describe Han's party that he drags him to and kind of the garage and all that kind of stuff? What's going on there?
So is this his second run-in with Yakuza?
I think, yeah, a little bit after this party scene.
Oh man, can you honestly jog my memory a little bit?
That's the thing, is so far nothing plot-wise is all that important. It's just kind
This
of...
whole movie is a blur.
Yeah, we just kind of just move from one place to another. Sean is destroying cars.
It's
in
a
every scene.
party or a race or a car is getting smashed.
Yeah, Han takes him to a Japanese party, and they're hanging out, and they go through to like Han's secret garage or whatever, and Han gives Sean a car. Pap, what kind of stuff does Han want to do with Sean in this car? Like, what kind of things is he going to teach him? And how's he going to make money and pay Han back?
There's a guy in there with a paw that owes me some money. A paw? He gave me my money. Okay.
Yeah, so he, for some reason, describes the first person who owes him money as someone who has a paw, which I don't know why at this point he's chosen to spoken strange Asian metaphors. What he meant was that there's a man with a tiger tattoo or something, and
Yeah,
he's apparently, of course, a sumo wrestler because it's Japan, and this is the guy who owes him money. And Peyton Manning takes basically 2 runs at him. He gets kicked out of the bathhouse the first time, and then on the second time that the sumo wrestler pulls some money out from like under one of his boobs or something and throws it at Han.
Yeah, he gets his ass kicked, and but he does get the money for Han, and Han, that was kind of like his test to see if he would...
But this is, by the way, the only scene of him collecting debts or anything like that. It's totally a cuttable scene as far as the film itself is concerned.
Yeah, it adds nothing to the story, really. We never see Sean do anything else more with the money, or trying to get money. But we get another scene of Sean back in high school, and then he ends up breaking up a fight with Bow Wow and a Yakuza friend guy. Stevie, why is Bow Wow so ungrateful that Peyton Manning breaks up this fight?
Yeah, what's that all about?
Mikey, can I be completely honest with you?
Yeah.
I have no idea. This movie is a blur. I know I sound like the worst podcaster ever right now, but for the life of me, I can't remember.
I got to make up for my missed one a minute ago. So Bow Wow is being accused of selling like a bum iPod to this dude. And he's just like kind of getting his butt kicked, but not giving in at all. And so, Slim Shady comes up and saves his butt, but then he saves him by giving him his iPod. So Bow Wow's like, now everyone's going to be looking for returns, which didn't really make sense, but that was his point of view.
And if I could point out an inconsistency in the Fast and Furious timeline, if I may, Mikey, this is supposedly the 6th film in the franchise, and they have iPods still? Come the fuck on. Stupid.
2013, no iPhones.
It's supposed to be after... Was it supposed to be after 6?
It's supposed to be after Fast 5, I think.
Which would, put it in a time where that technology would not be going on in Japan.
Yeah.
I'm trying to look up timelines as well.
See, I didn't know about this until you said something about it before we started the pod. So it being in the future, like by a couple of years, is like blowing my mind because they are like recording races on flip phones and stuff, and it's...
But pop-up DJs, though, very current.
And Jordan, Han and Sean are great friends now because I don't know why, and we have to move the plot forward. But Han and Sean are great friends, and they're hanging out at this rooftop soccer pitch, and Han tries to explain why he loves drifting so much, or how he views drifting compared to everybody else racing around. And they kind of do this kind of what kind of reasoning does Han show Sean for his reason for drifting, and why does it involve another car full of women and kind of like a mating ritual dance?
I thought I understood, but based on that intro, I'm not sure if I do. My understanding was that Han views it as like an escape, and he like escaped from America because of the results of the previous movies, and this is kind of his what do I want to say, like his exile almost, and the rest of it is kind of just for fun, like he's just kind of waiting to get something serious, I guess.
I thought it was just for picking up chicks. I thought that's why he loved drifting so much.
I mean, I think it's his kind of escape from being away from like the land that he knows, and like the culture that he knows and stuff. So he like bankrolls shitty racers like Sean and
Sean
and like wrecks cars and shit, and just in order to kind of like, I don't know, make money and try to like sustain in this environment that he's in now.
He has like a Yoda quote. He's like, "One cause far less the price than knowing the truth of a man's heart." Like something real deep philosophical out of nowhere.
Something way too philosophical before this next scene of where he just drifts around a car full of women to get numbers. It kind of like throws the whole philosophical thing to the wall.
He's like all waxing philosophical and then like jetting through Tokyo through crowds of tourists at 120 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
So
Happy loves it.
There's still not really anything important happening plot-wise. Honestly, the plot in this movie is really, really weak.
It's the end.
Like we're probably over halfway through the movie now at this point, and we still don't really have any conflict, I guess. I guess there's conflict between DK and Sean, but it's just in the terms of they raced each other once and they kind of haven't seen each other since then. But
if you want to hit on the B plot, it's like him and his dad. When he first got to town, his dad like set a bunch of rules, and I don't think he follows a single rule.
It was also with a hooker.
Yeah.
Fair.
And it's tough to give rules to a 35-year-old man. But right here we kind of get Sean's blossoming in Japan. He's kind of coming out of his shell a little bit, and he's making some friends. And he actually has another race where he beats DK's kind of best racer friend guy. And Stevie, what happens in this second race? How does it turn out for Sean?
Okay, so you're talking about when he's racing Morimoto?
Is that the blonde-haired guy?
The blonde guy?
Yeah, the one who's crying after he gets beat.
Yeah.
Ridiculousness. Yeah, Sean, in a very short time of hanging out with Han, has mastered drifting. And so it's like a really quick cutscene to like, he's in a race again, and then it's like the last 5 seconds of it, and he wins.
Yeah, we kind of skipped over. There's like a kind of a drifting montage where he just kind of is with Han and
There's
learns the
gonna
ropes.
be a montage!
There's a training montage. There's those guys that are fishing and like, oh, he sucks.
Also,
not
one of those
bad.
guys that's fishing, I think it's the guy like in the blue pullover. He's like the most famous drifter in the world and did like a lot of the driving in this movie.
The real DK?
Really?
Yeah, the real DK. He's the one that did like all the mountain like drifting and stuff like that. And he did a ton of driving for this movie. So that's him.
Pretty cool. Shout out to the true DK.
Yep.
And then after that race, Sean gets a date with Neela. I guess she saw his skills on the track and was impressed, so she gives him a date. And Pap, what kind of date do they take, and what do they do?
They go to the classic, it's Japan, why would they not get food out of a vending machine kind of date. Dude, I really...
The most romantic.
I hate it. Yeah.
It's a terrible date. There's this pretty awful acting scene of Neela pretending to drive and like drift while she's also talking to Sean in the car. Mm-hmm. And they're with like, I don't know, 10 other cars drifting up and down this hill. But it looks so bad.
It's like the undriftable hill too, right? Like supposedly people die somewhere on that hill.
But they're just cutting it up. They're breezing through this at night, no problem, drifting up and down this mountain.
And I do want to give this movie some credit. Most of the time, the driving is real and looks great. That is some CGI bullshit, and you can tell from a mile away.
Yeah, I mean, it's still at a point where, I don't know, what year was this? 2006 when this came out or something?
Yeah, 2006. So,
the CGI is not incredible. It's definitely better than the first movie, for sure. The driving is definitely better, I think. But yeah, the scene of them talking inside the car is actually kind of really cringy. She's just kind of like moving her arms in the most robotic way, like pretending to drive while she's like shifting and talking to Sean at the same time. And it just kind of looks kind of really fun.
Is this where they're talking about Sean. Her backstory? Because she has like this kind of ambiguous accent, right? Too. It's like almost Australian, but kind of.
She was pulling a Kate Winslet from Titanic the whole movie. Is she American? Is she British? Is she Australian? We'll never know.
Which may have been,
and you don't know because she only has 3 total lines.
May have been a creative choice though, because the whole thing is like, what's that word? Gaijin.
Yeah. It just
outsider.
means outsider in Japanese, and I guess
that might be the N-word in Japanese, so apologies if that's the case.
And to our Sri Lankan listeners.
Yeah. They made a real big point to say Gaijin multiple times to Sean, and I guess Neela was called Gaijin multiple times growing up too, so she doesn't appreciate the nickname, and she knows that Sean has no idea what it means, but he doesn't care because he's just there to drift, baby. He's all about the cars. He doesn't care about anything else, really. So.
Poor 17-year-old Neela, caught between 2 35-year-old men.
Yeah.
And then what else happens after this date?
Well, there's an update on Sean and his dad. Sean's been breaking a lot more rules, and his dad's still not really doing anything about it.
The whole thing with his dad is kind of pointless, I guess. He's only there to give Sean a car at the end to work on, and he's kind of like not very imposing or really there to progress Sean's character in any way, sort of. He's kind of been a deadbeat dad, I guess, a military dad who's kind of not been in the picture, and he's still not in the picture even though he's literally sleeping like 2 feet away from Sean every night now.
there is kind of a hilarious line that sets up his character, because like Sean's flying from presumably somewhere in California to Japan, and he's like, oh, your mom said you'd be here on the 7th. We're a day ahead. Which means in Japan it's the 8th, which means you just totally fucking forgot about your son. It doesn't make any
While you're with a hooker.
Yeah, what? That excuse doesn't work at all, old man.
You didn't show up at the airport, so I got this hooker.
Thanks, Dad. And then
well, there is a resolution with the dad too. Can we just like finish his story so he can move on?
Yeah, he doesn't really come up. Yeah, you can finish it off.
He saves him. Well, it'll come up later.
So we get DK shows up to Han's hangout where he's teaching Sean how to drift more, and Sean's burning through tires, really racking up some charges on Bow Wow's account here with how many tires he's going through. And DK shows up and then just kind of kicks Sean's ass for taking his girl Neela out. Jordan?
Classic DK.
Jordan, who is DK's boss / uncle, and why does he show up to DK's hangout later on?
His uncle is part of the Yakuza clan, apparently, and he.
Of course, it's
What,
Japan.
Stevie?
Why wouldn't he be
This
a part
is
of
so
Yakuza?
ridiculous. It's just so ridiculous.
Name,
Mickey
hey,
Boy.
it's like the Family Feud. Name things about Japan and Yakuza, samurai,
Show me Yakuza.
food and vending machines. Bing. Terrible.
Slurping noodles up with the sticks.
Terrible.
Check.
Sorry, Mikey. I'm kind of losing track of where we are in the plot. Is this where we're in like their
No, you're
their
good. There's nothing
their
happening
gangster
in the
den,
plot at all.
or
Yeah, they're in the gangster den, DK's gangster den, and his Yakuza uncle shows up and just tells DK that...
oh yeah. Sorry. Basically, he says that Han has been stealing money from like their deals, and he's at first he's like, no, that's not possible. And even if it was just only a little bit, which doesn't really make any sense. And his uncle, the Yakuza boss, is like, fuck that shit. You got to take care of this. He has some weird long metaphor that doesn't really make any sense to me. But that's the main message. Does the metaphor make sense to you guys? It's very long.
It's like the nail and the horseshoe and that thing.
And like a loose nail causes a loose horseshoe, which causes a lame horse, which causes a soldier not to make it somewhere, and then they lose a war, and
Interesting.
it's pretty extreme.
It's profound, Jordan.
Which is...
It's like a butterfly flaps its wings is the
The
equivalent.
thing is,
of-
that's not the only nail metaphor. There's another nail metaphor by the dad, which is like...
yeah.
like a loose nail or something always sticks out in this culture or something. So
A loose nail gets
hammered.
hammered.
it's
Yeah.
hammered,
So
yeah.
weird.
Which is just a metaphor for, hey son, I'm gonna get blackout drunk tonight.
No, it's keep your fucking head down. Oh man.
So DK ends up confronting Han, and he's got a gun, and he's gonna do something crazy here and try and kill Han. But Han escapes, all thanks to Bow Wow and his quick thinking by slamming a garage door shut. What happens after he escapes, and what kind of happens out in the streets of Tokyo?
Oh man, so they have the most intense race yet.
A race for your life.
Yeah, so this is more of a chase than a race, actually.
Ooh, a chase race.
Oh.
Yeah, it's a chase race.
Race
And they're
chase.
trying to execute Han, and Sean is involved, like weaving in there, trying to knock people off their course. And I'm not sure, like at this point in the movie, if they're ready to off Sean on sight yet or not. But they seem to be going mostly for Han. They, in the like most ridiculous scene that I gotta admit they like really make look cool in this movie. And it shouldn't be very cool, but they like go through all these pedestrians in like a Times Square sort of scenario, and the crowd like breaks to let through the drifting cars, and you're supposed to be like, wow. But I was more like, wow, I hate all of these characters for being such assholes.
That
Like,
shit was terrifying.
Oh, he would have, in real life, everybody would have died.
Yeah.
He would have killed hundreds
No
of
one's
people in
that
this
quick.
crosswalk.
I don't think you'd be allowed to like show that in a movie now, because there's been like a
No.
bunch of European terrorist attacks where they just plow through crowds. Pretty messed up.
Also, this is the chase where DK's right-hand man goes head-on into a car.
Blonde hair
Dies
guy.
on impact.
Yeah.
Is that
Morimoto?
what happens to him?
Yeah,
Is
he
he dead?
did.
Lots of people die in this
Yeah.
movie.
Well, the chase goes on, and a
Best
car
character.
flips. And I'll let Mikey, if you want to pick it back up here, but he's basically upside down, kind of like the end of the Nightcrawler movie.
Mikey, can I say something?
Dude.
Can I say something about the chase before you touch on that too?
Yeah.
The whole time they're unnecessarily drifting in and out of every single fucking car on the road like a slalom race. It doesn't
And lane.
It doesn't make any sense. Like
It makes perfect sense. It's in the title. It's called Tokyo Drift. You're right.
Drift, not
You're
Tokyo
right.
Drive Straight.
my bad. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
But yeah, they're drifting all over the place. And then Han gets T-boned by just like a taxi or something, and his car flips. And since he's got so much NOS in his car, it explodes almost immediately. And according to the timeline, I mean, I'm pretty sure this Han guy died in another Fast and the Furious movie, so I have no idea. But I guess he dies here.
His first and last movie.
Peyton Manning thought he heard the screaming, but everyone said he died on impact.
He's in some other ones.
I know, but it's his first Tokyo Drift movie, and chronologically he dies in the last Tokyo Drift movie.
Okay. So yeah, his car blows up. The coolest car in the movie blows up. And then Sean just kind of like runs off with Neela. Like, whoa. That was a close one. Thank God that wasn't like, me. Whoa. And then he just runs off. And and so, yeah.
Ooh, this is where the dad comes back into play.
Well, that's kind of the confusing part. Is we get to the final conflict. Is for some reason they set up this very final race of like loser leaves town for some reason, of Sean versus the Drift King, and loser has to leave town racing down this mountain. But the problem is Sean has destroyed every car he's ever set foot in. So they're down. He doesn't have a car to race. So where does he find a car, Josh?
Okay, so I think Mikey, he gets the car. Is it the one he raced that very first night with Han and messed up?
Yep, that's Han's car, and he gets an engine from there. And he needs a body.
And he got the body because his dad has this American muscle car. It's going to make it this classic
67
American
Mustang.
muscle.
Yeah, he's got a sweet Mustang. It's
Thing's
pretty
awesome.
much just the shell. And so we get another car montage of them building this old Mustang and making it drift ready. And we get another training montage of him learning how to drive this car. It's kind of dumb because like doing all these tests and stuff on it, and Bow Wow's running around like he knows some stuff about cars, and it's not very convincing otherwise. But then we finally get to the race, and everybody shows up for this race. Even the Yakuza shows up for this race to watch his nephew race down this hill. And Jordan, do you want to kind of explain the outcome of this race and kind of what happens?
I mean, they lead up to it with saying that DK is the only one that successfully made it down this particular hill. So you kind of have an idea going in that there's something weird about it. I don't know. The race going down is pretty intense. They're like drifting around corners and almost falling off cliffs. I'm a little bit lost about why is DK the only one that's ever made it down? Is there like a gap somewhere that he like flies through?
I just assumed he was killing everybody, running everybody else off the road.
Is that what it is?
Because
like the only part where Sean comes close to wrecking, like really, he like almost flies off a few like cliff edges, but it's after he wrecks DK. And then DK crashes down like the next level, almost right onto his car. But that's not something that would happen to everybody else. I don't know. It's weird.
Yeah, first of all, Sean bumps DK and he rolls off. He rolls off the road, which is, I guess, a cliff face, and so he somehow goes faster than the speed of light to go down this hill and make it down to the bottom of the hill before DK has fallen all the way down to the ground. And this car almost falls on him.
Mikey, you could have just said he didn't have his car, and we would
He
have
never
got
had
it.
his car.
And everybody claps that this man has just died in this recreational race.
Yeah, this guy's for sure dead, but he somehow crawls out. His uncle doesn't look too concerned that he just had a horrific crash down the side of a mountain. And this is pretty much the end of the movie. We get
What did his uncle say to him?
He just smiled.
No, he said something.
I had closed captionings on. Nothing.
So did I, so it was frustrating. Nothing.
Yeah,
I thought he said something too.
He does
Actually,
say
that's
something,
weird.
but I don't
He
think it.
says something. That's
He's
driving
like-
me mad.
No matter
He's like
what
the man with
language
the
you have the
paw.
captions in, it says whispers in foreign language, even in Japanese. It's just nonsense.
He says something about the man with the paw, though, for sure.
Yeah, so that's pretty much the end of the movie. Neela now loves the Gaijin guy. The Yakuza boss gives an approving look to the Gaijin guy and says you can stay in the country now, I guess. And, and then we get like one last teaser scene here of like Sean's finally like accepted by all of his high school peers. And it's another race night or something. And who does he end up racing, Pappy?
Family. Groot Diesel.
Yeah, we got one last teaser scene here, which I guess was added last minute, according to you guys, of Vin Diesel coming to pay respects to Han, and then he wants to raise Sean. I don't know if the point of this scene was to like recruit him into Vin Diesel's gang of family to pull off heists later in movies, but that just didn't pan out because this guy sucks as an actor, or...
Mike, you've seen all these movies. Does
I have,
Vin Diesel ever bring up Japan?
I really don't think so.
Not only that, he's winning races all over Asia to get to the point where he can race this guy. Like, they mentioned that explicitly, that he's going on a like circuit at the time.
Yeah. Well, that's the Fast and Furious timeline for you. It doesn't have to make perfect sense. There's a lot of Corona involved, so everything's a little bit hazy. And the whole idea that this was supposed to take place in 2013 is really throwing me for a loop, because I could have sworn Han dies in another movie, blown up the same way in a car. So there's probably a lot of loose ends that are kind of drawn out in this movie that don't really make too much sense in the long term.
Is this like a parallel universe story, like the Fast and Furious franchise, like these differing realities and quantum mechanics and such?
I mean, they do
they
warp
claim it.
Space and time whenever they activate NOS. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Could be a possibility. I think that's pretty much it, unless you guys got any last comments. I don't really have anything else left to say.
No.
Nah.
My favorite part of the movie was when he took that money back to the Yakuza uncle in this like really dimly lit club, and you think like everyone's like, you go in there, you'll get shot. But he's got like this master plan, and the uncle's finally like, so what is the plan? And he's like, a race.
War.
Or I could shoot you now and just take the money and dispose of your body because everybody here
Shit's
works
mine.
for me. So...
I actually do have one point, actually, before Yes or No's, is that I heard about this on the Now Playing podcast, but I'd actually seen this clip before, but Justin Lin was debuting a film at Sundance, and it was a gangster Asian movie, and someone from the crowd says, how could you depict your people that way? And of all people, Roger Ebert stands up in the crowd and literally shouts this man down, like screams at him, and he's like, Asian people have the same rights as white people to depict him however they want. And it's a fucking glorious moment. If you get the chance, Google Roger Ebert, Justin Lin on YouTube. It is the best thing ever. I gained so much respect for Ebert just after that clip. It's great.
That's awesome.
No,
Sounds kind of staunch, actually, but okay.
no other comments?
No.
Yeah, there's not really much to say since the plot makes no sense, other than that this movie is kind of trash. So we'll just get into yes or no's now. We'll continue with the West to East movement. So Pap?
Yep, it's a no. I've given every Fast and Furious movie I've seen a no. I really don't like them. I think that, like I mentioned the Family Feud comment, they go to a place with like objectifying Japanese schoolgirls, which is like a weird fetish, and of course this movie goes there. I don't know why this movie's in Japan, to be completely honest with you. That makes no sense to me. It seems like more trouble than it was worth. No, I don't like these movies.
Stevie?
Oh man, I've been thinking about this whole podcast, and I'm really gonna go against what I stand for. This story is absolute trash. The writing is bad. Like, it just makes no sense. It's not even like that interesting to watch. But what is interesting is how they pulled off all these car stunts and the camera work. Like, I think Justin Lin is the reason why Furious movies look the way they do now, opposed to the first one in Too Fast, Too Furious. Like, I think they really base a lot off like his camera work and the way shots are set up and how they do the races. Man, those cars were entertaining as hell to watch in this movie. So I will give this a soft yes.
Nice. Josh?
Yeah, this was a pretty crazy movie to watch because it's really bad, and so you're flirting with that. Is it so bad it's good? Like, where's the cutoff here? I don't really like cars, so it has that going against it, but I laughed a lot during this movie. When Teresa looked at me and goes, "Oh man, that girl Neela, she really like says a lot of cool stuff," and I was like, "Wait, like what?" And she's like, "Exactly. I haven't heard her talk in 45 minutes." She's like, she'll walk into a scene and she just like gives a sad look or like a happy look. And the way they depict love in this movie is so hilarious. It's just, if you are a good race car driver, you don't even have to like get the money to buy the equipment. If you just are a reckless rider and win, like, a girl will be all over you because that's just a gene they have to pass down to their children for some reason. So this movie was actually pretty entertaining, but I'm gonna have to give it a no because when Vin Diesel pulled up and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna race and you're not gonna have your car pretty soon," I was like, "Oh, please just go to credits and not show another freaking race." So at that point I knew, like, I just don't really like this car stuff, and I don't think this was nearly as good as the first one, so it dips down to a pretty soft no.
It's not as artistically creative.
We're gonna have to go back to the tapes for that one, Steven.
I
You
got a
literally
text,
okay.
I got a text from Brett. Sorry, Stevie. That he's a soft yes, by the way, and he's gonna be on
Huzzah!
vacation. He's gonna be on vacation, but he's not gone, but not forgotten. Brett.
Jordan?
So I had seen, I think, every other movie in this series except for this one, and had really high hopes. Just pretty disappointing. The plot just doesn't really do much for me. I would say the last 20 minutes is pretty entertaining, but the rest of the movie was really tough to get through. There's not a lot of redeeming characters. It's a soft no. I think it completes some of the story from the Fast and the Furious franchise, but it's skippable at best, I would say.
Yeah, I would say I'm gonna give my yes or no now, and it's gonna be a pretty hard no. It's really lacking in any sort of plot or storytelling. Anything that's not taking place in or around a car is pretty much just wasted film.
It's terrible.
So I think the main actor is awful. I don't know why they ever went with this guy. I think he's very uncharismatic and doesn't really offer anything that Paul Walker couldn't have done. And it's just,
and looked better.
Yeah,
doing.
it's just not a great movie. I like Han as a character. I thought he was pretty good. I would have rather watched a movie about him. But everything else in this movie is kind of garbage. So it's a pretty hard no. So that'll be, 3 no's and a soft yes?
2 soft yeses.
Oh, 2 soft yeses.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, not the best in the Fast and the Furious franchise. Definitely the worst.
This is like rotten vending machine food.
Ugh.
Oh yeah, rotten Japan vending machine food. So you guys ready for trivia now, or should we toss to break? All right. So this is gonna be Price is Right rules. It's just a quick one. Roughly, how many people bought? Let's figure out the order first here.
Stevie, right? No, Jordan.
I didn't host last. Yeah.
Jordan, then Stevie.
Yep.
Then me, then Josh?
It's been since January for me.
I think I need to recuse myself. I'm not going to be able to host in the next 3 weeks.
What?
Madness, man.
A rare move.
I'm sorry. I just need to say that now.
All right, so Stevie,
Jordan's committing seppuku out of this trivia.
Stevie, then me, then Josh. Just a 3-man triv.
Let's do it.
All right, it's just a quick one. Yakuza was a main plot point of this movie, and still very big today in Japan. So the question is, roughly how many people currently work for the Yakuza according to InsideJapan.com?
What?
They have a number here of numbers in the mafia for the Yakuza, and they...
you got your streetwalkers, you got your
InsideJapan.com.
soldiers, you got your drivers, you got your higher-ups.
Oh my god. Okay.
Price is Right rules, so you can't go
Price
over.
is Right rules. Pap, how many people live in Japan?
17,000. So I'd go off that.
You're so full of shit. All right. I think it's a lot. I'll say 42,000.
42,000. Who'd we say? Josh or Pat? Pat?
No, me next. I'll say 43,000.
I hate this game so much.
Bold choice. Josh?
Oh, man. A lot of people live there.
Almost 16,000, I heard.
Wow.
So quadruple the population works for the Yakuza directly.
Yeah, it's crazy. Didn't you see the movie?
This sucks because I want this trivia so bad, you guys.
You want
it's been since super bad.
the numbers between 0 and 100 or 44,000, or everything over 40?
Yeah, you got pretty much a 50-50. I mean...
I'll take 44,000.
God, that wasn't cool.
This number kind of blew me away. According to this InsideJapan.com, the answer is 102,000 people work for the Yakuza.
What?
So
A big
Josh,
house worth of Yakuza Mafia members.
Josh is your champion, your Apex champion.
Boo.
All rats.
Do more people... Yeah.
Josh is your Apex champion, and we'll toss it to spoilers, man, here, and then we'll get Josh's pick when we come back. So take it away, Spoiler Man.
Spoiler Man here. Our email is podcastspoilers@gmail.com. Twitter is @spoilers_pod. Our Instagram is podcast spoilers. It's lit. Josh Hensley from the Rutabaga wrote our theme song. Our spoilers hotline is 903-776-4507. That's 903-SPOIL07. Please support this podcast by leaving us an iTunes review. To do this, 1. Search for movie spoilers. 2. Click on our orange Spoilers Bowl logo and scroll all the way to the bottom. 3. Leave us some stars and some words. Now you can check us out on Spotify, YouTube, Stitcher, Apple, and Google Podcasts. If you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe on SoundCloud or iTunes.
And we're back.
All right, we're back from Spoiler Man. Thank you for that lovely ad read there, Spoiler Man. Josh, you're our champion. What are we going to be watching next week?
Okay, I wanted to go 2003, this year I graduated high school. There's a couple special movies. Have you guys ever heard of the movie Two Rats? It's a Nigerian film.
Two Rats? No, never heard of it.
Is
Just
it the
joking.
end of The
We're
Departed?
No. But there's this 2003 film called Two Soldiers. I don't want to do that one either. What I do want to do is 2003 film Too Fast, Too Furious.
Let's go! Let's
I want to be a team player. I'm really like I gave the first one a yes, the third one a no. Like, where does this middle one fit? You know,
what's happening to my show?
Let's go.
Oh, good God. We're watching another Fast and the Furious movie next week, I guess. So if the pod survives this horrendous week of bickering in the thread, we'll be back next week to...
Oh, the funny thing is I promised myself the next time I'd either pick... I was going to pick Children of Men because I just love that movie. And
Pap, I told
never
you this
get to
was gonna
spoil a
happen.
movie.
I told
It's been
you
like
this was
months
gonna
and months
happen.
since I get to spoil. And so, like, I got to be a team player, and like we're on this Tokyo Drift. Let's ride it.
We're on this fast journey together.
All right,
too
well, if the
fast.
pod survives this week, we'll be back next week with Too Fast or Too Furious. Thanks for listening, and that was Spoilers.
That was spoiler.
That's a lot of mafia people.
You know, this pod could have been rather quick if Brett would have bucked up and fixed his computer.
It's only an hour pod.
Yeah.
You did a great job, Money. That's a good host.
Real good host, Mikey.
Thanks. Josh, you ready?
I'm ready.
Jordan, you want to give us an "and we're back"?
And we're back.